Well, a showdown is looming between Police Minister Bheki Cele and the City of Cape Town. The city wants the courts to force the minister from interfering in its affairs. It follows an altercation between MMC JP Smith and Cele just yesterday. The police minister threatened to shut down a commercial being filmed on Camps Bay, but the city had already given approval. So for more on this, we're joined by the City Safety and Security MMC. That's Mr. JP Smith. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Smith, let's just get clarity on exactly what happened here. On one end, we have the police minister sort of going around, the Western Cape, particularly coming to a commercial shoot and saying that it was not complying. They were not meant to be filming at that particular beach. But you're saying as a city, you had already given approval to it, which I assume is because you have found that they did sort of oblige to any restrictions and any measures at that time. What exactly happened there?
Morning. Myself and our colleague, Councillor Zaid Badruddin, we're doing a schedule of beach inspections, which we do annually. And when we got to Camps Bay Beach, we found the minister on, I don't think you can call it a fact-finding mission, you must maybe call it a fault-finding mission, going across the beaches. And when he got to Camps Bay, he homed in on a form shoot which had been given a permit. That permit having been checked by lawyers as being compliant with the updated COVID regulations. And he then gave an instruction as a politician to operational staff to shut it down, which I think is very vexing and problematic in and of itself. And variously between about 18 and 30 police officers then hung around there until after 6, preventing that film shoot from proceeding. And apparently we have no crime elsewhere in the city that you can afford that kind of allocation of staff. But that said, we did warn the minister at the time and the senior officials, because there were 4 generals in attendance, that there were significant costs attached to it, that they were acting unlawfully, that explained to the minister he was misinterpreting the regulations, and that there was a 2.9 million rand price tag for that shoot. 75 people employed by it. It is legal. They're complying with all the COVID regulations. They have a COVID compliance officer. They had everything in place. And that the action was just whimsical. It was, I think, just an act of one-upmanship. And so, unfortunately, then that shoot was yesterday prevented from happening. Last night, the people got told, oh, well, you can carry on this morning. But this morning when they got there, were again SAPS members blocking them from carrying on, which I think is very problematic. We're waiting for the judge to hear the case so we can get that urgent interdict and prevent the minister from interfering. Our industry has already had national government's boot on its neck in terms of the tourism, events and film industries. They employ tens of thousands of people. We are operating responsibly within the confines of the regulations to try and get these open and working as best as can so that we don't lose more jobs and livelihoods.
Right. And I mean, you are, of course, accusing the minister of interfering with your affairs. You're saying that there was compliance in as far as the commercial shoot is concerned. But it seems there are still concerns within, the province around beaches. Some residents there saying that not all beaches need to be closed, not such heavy policing and restrictions need to be, given to all beaches in a sense that SAPS shouldn't necessarily patrol then close them off. Have you been hearing incidents of perhaps even, residents, community members saying that they're not allowed to access beaches which are outside of what the president had announced?
So I don't think we have a problem with beaches. The beaches aren't a risk. Even the national advisor, the science advisor to national government said that the beaches aren't a risk in terms of the COVID infections. If you were at the beach yesterday, I hear this clip you played earlier. That's nonsense. I mean, yes, people are sitting in family groups. They're at home together as a family without masks. If they're sitting together in a huddle on the beach without masks on, that's not a problem. If a person is lying alone somewhere without anybody within meters of them, that's not a problem. Where people were mingling, they were wearing masks. We were loud hailing the whole time to remind people to do so. The beaches aren't a problem. The beaches are a red herring. What's happening is people in communities with little regard for the law, with very little or no SAPS enforcement, are spreading this. Remember, these infections have been coming now for the last few weeks. The beaches haven't been busy. There've been nobody on the beaches for the last few weeks. So the beaches haven't played a role in these infections. It's a misdirection. It's a red herring. The real problem here is behavior at other levels. And the minister is really just looking for an excuse to try and subject the Western Cape to the same conditions that are applying elsewhere. It obviously irritates him that things are different here. But we're managing the situation. We're doing so responsibly.
And speaking about behavior being a factor in terms of the surge of those numbers, Mr. Smith, I mean, we're seeing a record of, approximately 10,000 new infections today. Besides the beaches, where do you think could be other problems, particularly within the province? I know there were reports coming in that there were still, parties and bars or even clubs that are still open, having over the limit in terms of, patrons within the establishment. The minister as well going to establishments like Cubana, handing out non-compliance documents. Is that a problem you're facing there?
Absolutely, ma'am. I think people are just sick of the lockdown. The problem is they don't get to be sick of it. The virus is with us. It's a reality. We can't avoid it. We have a serious problem, and people need to comply. So we have been doing enforcement operations at the bars. I was 2 nights ago in Bellville observing this being done. We are going through there with our environmental health and our law enforcement staff. We're issuing warnings. We're talking nicely, but where that doesn't help, we are taking sterner action. We're issuing fines to the owner. The regulations have now created more severe penalties. We're going to the liquor authority where people absolutely will not hear and asking for their liquor license to be revoked, because that's the most effective thing we can do. And in extreme cases, where the venue is very full, because remember the population certificate says how many people's allowed to be in there.
Right.
In terms of COVID regulations, they're only allowed half. And if they're over full, the fire department is emptying the venue altogether. We are really trying to be as firm as this. We followed up with La Parada. They got served a notice. The Cape Farmhouse as well. If they're having jola and events that they're not supposed to have, we are going to take action.
All right, then that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much, JP Smith.